Hello my fellow chatterers and those who worship books, and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious or you're lost. I'm Chatty and welcome to my channel, Chatty the Mad Chatter, where I'll be chatting away, getting serious about my series. And yes, it is mainly fantasy, so if that's not your vibe, then you might not enjoy this video, so try a different one. Maybe a different booktuber, because I do talk about fantasy a lot, but do feel free to stay as well. So it's one shot, there's no editing. I'm hoping not to screw up the pause button by flicking my camera back and forth because I want to show you the series in piles because I love a visual image. So we'll see how we get on. Wish me luck. Cheers, everybody. So this is the May to August third of the year where I reflect on my series and how well I'm doing. So I did the January to April one. So at the 30th of April, I had finished so far that year 4 series, I'd progressed with 2, and I'd started 14. And so I will now go and show you what that looks like in terms of what I'm currently reading. But because I like to kind of do a bit of a stat, give myself a bit of a score, I turned it into points, and it basically rounded up because of how many series I'd started and how many I'd finished. I ended up with like -3 compared to how I was doing from the beginning of December. So April, I'm on -3 in terms of my progression with series. So now I'll show you where we are at the start of April. So at the start of April, I had 18 series on the go. The books where you can't read their spines is because I don't have them. So I'm just putting an example in place so you just get this visual image. So I have read Even the Darkest Stars in that duology and have the second book to read. I have read the first 2 Nevermore books and have Hollowpox to read. I have read Gideon the Ninth in the Locked Tomb trilogy and have the second book, Harry the Ninth, to read. I have the I'd read the first book in Adventures on Trains and have the second book, Kidnap on the California Express, to read. I've started the Scythe series and I have Thunderhead next to read. I started the Chorus of Dragon series and have The Name of All Things next to read. Started Stormlight and have Words of Radiance next to read. Started the Royal Sorcerer Royale duology and have The True Queen next to read. I've started the Bloodswarm saga and have The Hunger of the Gods to read. The Pillars of the Earth, I have World Without End to read. The Lord of the Rings trilogy, I have The Return of the King to read. The Merlin trilogy by Mary Stewart, I have The Hollow Hills to read. Can't quite see it in there. Maya Angelou, I have read Gather Together in My Name, and I have the next book, which is Come Out Singing, Swinging and Smelling Like Christmas, I think is the title. I read Inkheart, I had Inkspell to read. No, I'd read Inkspell, I had Ink Death to read, so I've put the wrong book in this pile, which is marvellous start. I have read Melissa and I had Rick to read. I had read the first Rainbow Grey book, so have The Eye of the Storm to read. I had read Akotar and had Akomath to read. And I'd read A Dark Shade of Magic and have A Gathering of Shadows to read. So that is 18 series right there. So we're going to find out how I got on. I'm also going to show you the series that I had up to date. So I had 4 series up to date. So I had Legendborn. I had the Guardians of Magic in the Cloud Horse Chronicles. I'd had the Bands of Mourning in Mistborn Era 2. And I'd had Once We Were Witches in the Once We Were Witches series. So waiting for the next book to be published in all of those series so I can carry on. So over the 3rd May to April 2022, I completed 4 series! Woohoo! So I finished 4. So on the same track as kind of the last third. So I will show you which ones they are. So as you can see from the pile here, I have since got, let's see if I can do this with a wonky camera. I since read Rick, completing the Melissa and Rick duology. Ink Death, see how I sneakily swapped them over there. Completing the Inkworld trilogy. The True Queen by Zenjo, completing the Sorcerer Royale duology. And one more. So yes, I am using this book as a placeholder for Rick because I borrowed it from the library and don't actually own it myself. So yes, I have now read the Melissa and Rick duology. I don't know its official name, but that's what I'm calling it. This is a duology, sort of like companion novels by Alex Gino. Melissa, I think, is most well known. It was formerly published as George, but they since renamed it because George is Melissa's dead name. So it tells the story of a trans girl, Melissa, and how she kind of slowly allows her journey coming out, confiding in her best friend, going to be playing Charlotte the Spider in the school play, and just slowly becoming confident in who she is and in her true self, talking to her parents and her family. And it was a really sweet story. My only kind of thing with it was that it was very kind of stereotypical gender based, but it was written a few years ago, and I think we kind of have moved on from that now. And I think it just needed something in there, and this is what Melissa's tastes are, not a general kind of this is how all trans girls or girls in general are. I actually enjoyed Rick better than Melissa. It took on kind of it was completely different actually to what I thought it was going to be. I presumed, because Rick is friends with the bully in Melissa, I think is he called Jeffrey? Possibly called Jeffrey. Jeff. So he's friends with Jeff. And I presumed it was going to be a realization that he was gay. Turns out I was wrong. It is a realization of his sexuality, but it is not gay that he identifies as. And I don't know whether I should spoil it or not. I'm just going to say it now. So if you don't want to know, you have the opportunity to like skip forward. But if you do want to know, I will tell you. So wait until I put the books back up again. So I'm going to talk about the spoiler now. When they put the books back up again, I've finished talking about the spoiler. So Rick discovers that he is ace. I don't know if he also realised he is aro as well. I can't remember. I did read it a few months ago. But he is definitely asexual. So he starts to realise it's really well done with the way that we have this kind of societal pressure to make people think that they should be looking for some sort of romantic partner in their life. So it explores that. It also explores, so those people who've been blocking that out, you can now listen again, I'm not going to mention it. So as well as exploring Rick's own personal journey, it also explores lots of other people's journeys too. You have this whole kind of umbrella group. I can't remember the name of the group, but it's in school. I don't know American school systems, but they've moved up a school. I don't know if it's middle school or high school they've moved up into, but they've changed the school. I personally felt that there was a lot of kind of adult pressure on kind of looking at girls and being interested in girls slightly more sexually than was necessary. But as I kind of read the book, I think that is put in there to make you feel uncomfortable. And particularly in the way Jeff responds to people, I think that is definitely put in there to make you not appreciate that and not like that girls are being seen as kind of like, the girls are not being, we shouldn't objectify girls, basically. I think that's kind of what that highlights. So it's got this wonderful kind of quilt bag, which is the term that I found in here, that stands for queer, unisex, intersex, lesbian, trans, bisexual, asexual, and gay. Plus. So you have this, so queer / questioning. So you have this quilt bag plus or LGBTQ plus community in the